Okay, so we did a blog post, a new blog post for the QuickBooks blog this week, and we covered an area that I think is going to be of a lot of use to a lot of people, of course, or I wouldn't have put it out there. But this one talks about how to audit. I'm beginning to get into some of the more sophisticated areas of working with QuickBooks, how to audit transactions, how to correct mistakes. And I wanted to deal with something having to do with the customer payments, and I want to sort of demystify the undeposited funds account for people. A lot of people get frustrated with that account. A lot of CPAs, actually, I find, get frustrated with that account, don't seem to understand it. And so I'll probably do a few more webcasts over the next week or two explaining how the undeposited funds account works, why it works the way it does, what it does for you. In simple terms, it helps you group payments together that you've received from customers so you can record them in one lump sum deposit. That way your deposits in QuickBooks match your deposits on the bank statement. Otherwise, you'd have a separate deposit recorded for each payment you received, even though you might have deposited all those checks together, and it won't match up on the bank statement when you compare it with QuickBooks. It makes reconciliation a little more difficult. The main focus of this webcast, though, that I'm talking about, deals with how to correct a mistake when you've made a mistake in a customer payment or the related deposit. Because the way QuickBooks works is first you receive the payment from the customer, and you give the customer credit for having paid their invoice by checking their invoice off. QuickBooks often does this automatically because the amounts match and it recognizes that. But that's really the first step, and the deposit is a second step. So of course the question is, where's the payment go when I apply it in QuickBooks? And the answer is it goes into undeposited funds. You can change that setting to give yourself the option of directly selecting a bank account so that that payment immediately goes into the bank account. But the reason I discourage people from doing that is what I just described. What you want to be able to use undeposited funds to group the payments together. So what happens is first you receive all your payments. Let's say you've gotten 3 or 4 checks, and you group them all in undeposited funds. Then you go and record a deposit, and QuickBooks recognizes that there are payments sitting in undeposited funds that haven't been deposited yet. Theoretically, that represents the checks that are sitting on your desk that are literally waiting for you to take them to the bank. So it gives you the pop-up that says you have payments to deposit. Are you depositing any of these today? And in a sense, that's what it's asking you. And you can check off any or all of them. And that way, once you click OK in that dialog, you already see the deposit dialog in the background of that. But it takes you right in there, and now you can add in, if there are other deposits that you're including that don't have to do with customer payments. Let's say you're putting cash in, or you got a refund check from a vendor, or anything that's not related to a customer payment. Now you have an opportunity to add that and further include more items that are going to be included in the same deposit that the bank gets. So that's the point of this, and it's important to understand how this works, because especially if you find that you need to correct a payment, if that payment's already been deposited, QuickBooks doesn't let you delete it, or you can't change it because it's included in a deposit. And you don't want to delete deposits, as I explained in the webcast, because if you've reconciled the account, then deleting a deposit will throw off your reconciliation. It'll ruin the beginning balance for you. The next time you go to reconcile, it'll be off. So you never really want to delete a deposit. Not to mention, you might be looking at a deposit that includes several payments already, and you just want to fix that one. You don't want to delete the whole deposit. It'll throw all those other payments back into undeposited funds, and if you have no other payments there, it's easy enough. But if you do have other payments that you haven't deposited yet, then you have to go back and remember which ones were included in that deposit. So in this webcast, I give you 2 scenarios, and I walk you through, of course, step by step, how to do this correctly, how to make these corrections, and I give you 2 scenarios that come up frequently when I look at clients' books in terms of what happens and how to correct it in a way that doesn't ruin the integrity of the bank reconciliations. I hope you enjoy and find it helpful. Email me at seth@nerdenterprises.com. More than happy to answer your questions and love to get feedback. So give us a ring, so to speak, via email.